Hello, I'm Dr. Aaron Finn, optometrist for Mountain Comprehensive Health Corporation. We realize the importance of our eyesight each day when we see the beauty of Appalachia. At MCHC, we have same-day appointments and we take walk-ins. We make our glasses on-site and we offer all name brand frames. Also, Kentucky Medicaid expanded coverage to include adults, and with our sliding scale, you only pay based on your family size and income. When it comes to your eyesight, we don't want you to miss a thing. MCHC, providing better health for a longer life.
You know the drill with Wes Smith. Wes Smith, presented by MCHC.
This is like episode 7, 8. Hell, I don't know. I've lost count, but it's one of those episodes. And man, let me tell you, I'm having a blast with this, and I'm finally to that point. You know, with my new job, I travel a lot, and I'm finally to that point. I can go to these random towns in Eastern Kentucky, and I introduce myself, and these guys will look real close at my name tag, and they'll go, "You're the podcast guy." So I feel blessed to have that title, the podcast guy. But I feel even, by the way, speaking of that, shout out to our sponsor, MCHC. I went there the other day, and I feel like all of the employees and our title sponsor listen to the podcast. So thank you guys for not only supporting us financially, but supporting us as a fan too. But speaking of excited, man, I had a wise guy once tell me not very long ago, actually like 2 minutes ago, that the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. And the next best time to plant a tree is right now. So let's plant a freaking tree and introduce you to two guys who need no introduction, Mr. Austin Kidd and Mr. Winston Lee, who might have a totally better setup than this studio ever imagined.
If I were a tree, like what would I be though? What I would like to think of myself as like I'm not like a big, huge oak tree, but I'm not necessarily like a little soft willow tree. Like
you're
I'm a
solid. You're solid.
Yeah, I'm like a sequoia.
A
Is that a
sequoia.
tree? Yeah. I'm like big
I don't
old.
know. What tree has the biggest roots? I feel like you're the tree that has just those roots that go like.
Yeah, wide roots. I was thinking a girthy tree.
Girthy tree.
No, I would definitely be like I don't know. It's more like a little I would probably not even a tree, like a little shrubbery, like like a bush.
The question is, where would you be?
Oh,
What?
where would you be if you were a tree? Where would you be planted?
Oh, y'all know where I would be planted. I'd be planted right up on this rock slated hill here in Mayking, Kentucky. I actually have a pine tree that's growing in my view outside the window that I'm really torn about whether I got to cut it down. I'm gonna try to move it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but it's out there, and I just know I want to be a pine tree. That will be the tree you want to be though, because that thing will live
Year
through
round.
the summer and the winter, and it'll thrive.
Evergreen, baby.
Plant evergreen today. That's what I am. I'm making evergreen.
we are making evergreens today on the drill. If you've not figured out at all what we're going to talk about today, I've had a million people tell me like, we got to split up basketball. And I'm like, I know, but I love basketball. But if you can't tell today from the attire that we're wearing, plus the backdrop of the Making Evergreen, man, Paris.
Wait, I just got to say this too. Is like I know you said it's the 7th episode,
something like that.
so that obviously me and Austin Kidd are like we're pretty. I'm like kind of like kid. Like, at what point on the friends list were we down at that you were like, okay, this is the episode I got to reach down in my pocket and I got to ask, the
Listen,
boys to come on.
First of all, this is nobody uses MySpace anymore, Winston. We don't have the friends list. Second of all, as you know, Winston Lee is the absolute. I've had it on my list from now until this was imagined somewhere in my. I don't even know that he is the Olympic guru. If you want to know somebody that watches the Olympics, go to Macon, Kentucky every 4 years.
Listen, what changed my life was, so, growing up, you've got to just, no matter what time you're in, which Rio's nice because it's kind of, the timing is close. But, we had Tokyo and the timing was so off and it was COVID and it was just misery. And you got to wait, and catch it on prime time, or you got to wait and find it on the TV channel, and just that whole situation. And then just through the years, you got to wait, right? You got the work day, you got the school day, and you're waiting. More so this Olympics than ever, man. NBC is genius. Like, Peacock put out the 24-hour, like, as soon as the sun came up in Paris, it was on. When the sun went down in Paris, a replay. But they had the Peacock going, and you could turn it on. They start up about 3 or 4 a.m. over there in Paris. And they had this thing. So, I'm also a really huge, obviously, NFL football fan. And everybody's familiar with the Red Zone and Scott Hansen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now 7 hours of uninterrupted football, right? So they had what was called the Gold Zone on Peacock. And thank you, Eric Ayers, for lending me his Peacock password, because I watched Gold Zone for 12 hours every day.
I have to say, I told you he was an Olympic guru. In my rundown notes here, my first two things I wanted to make sure we hit about the Olympics is, you might be able to see it on the camera over here. Paris was a terrific host. And number two, Peacock was absolute perfection. And just like Winston said, Austin, I know we watched some of this together. How amazing is it? You're watching volleyball or you're watching one of these Olympic sports, and literally in the background, as these people are like getting ready to perform, you're looking up at the Eiffel Tower. Like, unbelievable. And like you said, this turn it on and watch any event you want to watch on Peacock. I mean, they have streamlined the Olympics, right?
everything about it was incredible. I mean, the scenery was incredible. The coverage was incredible. There were so many storylines through these Olympics. And as we all are, big Kentucky guys, it was really cool to follow some of the Kentucky storylines. I mean, you have arguably the greatest female athlete in the history of all of running, right? Would you classify it as that? And Sydney McLaughlin, and just shattering her own record after her own record and setting a new world record. I mean, it's incredible.
Speaking about being a great host, I can't wait to hear both of your reactions to this. I mean, Paris, fantastic. Even swimming in a river full of was entertaining. I mean, let's.
Yeah. So is it? Yeah. The river. I read up on this a little bit. So get this, and this is so interesting to me in, these opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, the facilities provided. Like, if you look, like, take a peek into the finances, like the budgeting and the money behind the Olympics, it is absolutely mind blowing. So get this. Paris and the Olympic Committee spent $1.5 billion on cleaning the river, the one of the most famous rivers ever, right? But it's been bacteria filled for forever. Nobody's been able to swim in that thing for forever unless it's illegally. And they spend $1.5 billion to make one leg of a triathlon for the Paris Olympics happen. And just think about that. It's crazy. And you're looking at just the whole, we talk about the media coverage and we talk about the athletes obviously take the spotlight, but think about behind the scenes, just the amount of work and production that went into this stuff. And say what you want about the controversy of the opening ceremony. Think about the work involved, the closing ceremony, getting the river clean. And then we have, it's like we told our buddy Seth, who's a big time White River rafter, it's like, look at what they did they had to build a fake river to raft in. They had to build fake rapids. So it's like just the whole, and like Kid mentioned there's so many storylines that go beyond, and this, when you get the production and this historical aspect, and of course there was that amazing World War II tribute, and it's like, thinking about in reality in Paris France playing up on the French Revolution in their opening ceremony is like, you take the historical aspects and you take the production and you taking all that and spotlighting the greatest athletes on planet Earth and mixing in just these perfect, quirky, cheesy moments. I mean, I think immediately about the break dancing and this Turkish
breaking, get it right. Breaking.
Yeah, this breaking. What would your what? I went there today. If I'm a making evergreen, right? What would your breaking dance name be? They have a dance name. Mine would obviously be Tuttle. It would like be B-Boy
Sure.
Tuttle, for sure. But like like the Canadian guy was Phil Wizard, like B-Boy Phil, like Wizard.
I got to be like B-Boy Blue or something like that,
Perfect. And Kids is great too. It's like B Kid or something,
It would have to be like the Carlton Kid, because that's the only dance move I got.
Carlton Kid. I feel confident though, Kid, that if you ever do want to go to the Olympics, we've talked about our collegiate basketball careers. If you ever wanted to perform in the Olympics, I'm pretty sure you could get citizenship in Australia and join their breaking team. Because dear God, I mean, we were talking about that the other day. If she was the one that qualified, what did the rest of them look like?
It's not coming back, but in a way, it's kind of cool, because you got to think, like, this was the first time it was in the Olympics and probably the last. Like, you were going to be able to say, like, you are the only gold medalist ever in that field. That's kind of
unbelievable.
Cool. Like that,
unbelievable.
That medal has to have a little more value than some of the others, just for that simple fact.
I just love the fact that, I don't know. I love that we tried, like the Olympic Committee and like international level tried to make this just had the balls about them to try to make this a thing. And I love the fact that this Australian dancer was like, screw it. I'm just doing whatever. I mean, she literally went out there and just did whatever the hell she felt.
Just did.
If she was feeling, the zombie thriller, like, if she was feeling a karate, like yacha, if she was feeling like a little helicopter, like the chin grab action, like, she whatever she felt, she went with, and I love it. I respect it. I felt it. I was amazed at, when they hired these two hype guys, like they had the two stage hype guys hyping and stuff.
And the people that score it, like, can you imagine, like, all right, I was part of the Olympics. Yeah, I scored the breaking. Like, I want to see those scorecards. What goes into that? What do you do in your career to get to the point where you are scoring breaking in the Olympics?
Do you guys, Kid, do you guys cover breaking on Synergy? Is that something you guys?
We do not break down breaking. It's a very subjective scoring method, so
maybe that's your ticket in to the next level. Like the CEO, you've got to introduce the breakdown of breaking on Synergy.
Hey, we can do it. And the way things are going, man, with this computer vision and the way you can just plug it into a camera, it might be pretty nice because sometimes I'm watching that stuff and it's a lot of these Olympic events, like the art of scoring really is impressive because you look at people that go out, like I'll watch like diving, for example, and someone made the comment like, how many different dives and forms of diving are there? Like how many gold medals can China win with different variations of jumping off a diving board, right? But like what's more impressive, I watch these guys like jump off and they do a quadruple backflip, right? And they hit the water and there's like no splash at all. And I'm like, that was amazing. And then you hear the commentator say, well, that was a disappointing performance. I was like, we're not watching the same thing here. Where's the disconnect? But just the art that goes into scoring that stuff is really incredible.
Kid, what's
I
your best
guess
dive?
Oh man, I'm not much of a swimmer. Like I went to the Y, I took lessons. Like I think I got to guppy. I think I'm a certified guppy. I don't think I got past that. I
Be
can't tread
guppy.
water.
Be guppy.
Hey, I'm a B guppy. There you go. There's my breaking name, B guppy. It's kind of embarrassing. I get in the water. I got a really nice doggy paddle, but
what's the what's the jumping off? So first of all, at the Whitesburg Municipal City swimming pool back in my day, everybody hit the can opener. Er,
Absolutely.
Everybody hit the can opener. Like if you couldn't bend your back and then bring it back together and grab a knee for the perfect splash of a can opener and splash these poor moms that are 10 feet away sitting on the deck, like just get out the pool. Like you don't even deserve, you can't get in the pool. You especially ain't getting in during 15-minute break time for the adult swim. Get out if you cannot do the can opener. Okay. So it's kind of, but I'm trying to think. So I had a buddy. We worked at the life at Whitesburg City Pool. We were lifeguards. We got so desperate to pull off. I can't remember what it's called. It's when you essentially backflip backwards. Right? You leave the board and your head comes back to the board and you do
Flying
a flip.
squirrel.
No, but we did the
Gannon
flying
or
squirrel.
Gainer.
Yeah.
Gainer.
Yes.
So, bro, I put a life jacket on and everything, trying to master the gainer, and I never could get. I understand when Simone Biles says she got the twisties back in Tokyo. I totally sympathize with her because I could not shake not knowing where I might land in that gainer. And I can't imagine, headed toward the mat at 100 miles an hour, getting the twisties and not knowing where I'm landed. That was me performing the gainer back in 2005.
If you tune in next week to the video session, the video version of this podcast, we have live footage of 10-year-old Winston Lee practicing the gainer with his life jacket on. So next week, guys.
We did the flying squirrel, and I busted my balls on the flying squirrel because you got zero protection. You were opening yourself up to the world. You grab your ankles behind you.
You're asking for it.
Why would you do that?
You're
That's
asking for it.
stupid.
My biggest takeaway, I think, from the Olympics, you've got me in the mood talking. I want to go swimming, but one of my biggest takeaways is, and Winston, you alluded to this earlier. First of all, I strongly recommend do not get into the absolutely ridiculous controversies of the Olympics. It happens every year. That's us as Americans. We have to make something out of nothing. Just like with the opening ceremony this year, because once you get past whatever ideology you've got in your head of this controversy, this was an Olympics that I hadn't in a long time. Not only me, but people I know sitting in front of the TV, just absolutely cheering on the United States of America. There has been more support, I feel like, for the USA than many of the Olympics I remember.
Dare I say that, and I'm sure we're going to get to all pretty much. I tried to rolling into tonight. I tried to like memorize all the really good headlines, but I think Kid mentioned this earlier. There are so many great stories and headlines that it's just you can't pick out one. But, me and you had this conversation, obviously the United States just like ran wild with the medal count. Um, and actually, I went back and, I'd heard this that it was the most medals we had ever won as a country, but that is actually not true.
Ah,
There had been more earlier, but there's been times throughout the history of the Olympics that different countries has boycotted,
right.
and it almost takes out a little bit from, those particular Olympics, especially like obviously during this really tumultuous time of the 40s and 30s, like there were a lot of countries that didn't participate or the Olympics didn't even happen. So, it's hard to like get a real history on medals count, but what we can do is we settle down and we look at individual performances, whether by a team or an individual. But just I looked at some numbers today, man. 65% of the United States medals were earned by women. If we had just the team of United States women, they would have finished third in the medal count.
Unbelievable.
Just our women. So it was, I think, just more so than ever, us as a country, we needed the Olympics. Like the last Olympics was COVID. I think we've been in such political turmoil. And I think we just can't be on the same page for whatever reason concerning everything else in America. So it was like, we have this one thing. And that's what gets me about the Olympics, right? It's like we get this one opportunity to lay everything else aside and be like, yes, go team America. Thank you. So I think I felt it, and I hope, and like in what you're saying, everybody else kind of jumped on board with it, and you're seeing social media posts. I think that feeds into it too, right? Social media is bigger than ever. We're blasting it everywhere, like go team. Um, and they're blasting each other, right? Like all the while we get live Steph Curry updates. You saw that little him and Ant after getting the gold, which I thought was hilarious.
Yep.
The interview with KD where he said, "Yeah, there's a lot of bullshit that happens, but a lot of good things happen too in America."
Hmm.
And just stuff like that. That just like it's too much to ignore. The romanticism behind the Olympics, it's just too much to ignore. So I think most people just bought into that.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful how the Olympics unites people. It makes me think of that Toby Keith song. I love this bar, right? It's like it don't matter if you're left or you're right. Like
That's
you're
right.
just rooting for whoever they are, regardless of what their beliefs are, regardless of what your beliefs are. It's like, hey, we're all part of this together, and like I want you to win, mother freaker. Like I want you to get it. It
Of
also,
all of all the
That's
patriotic
right.
songs Toby Keith has sang, the Olympics reminds Austin Kidd of "I Love This Bar."
R.I.P. Toby Keith, but I mean it really does. But I mean it's just so incredible. Like, and you even at the Olympics, like you have these two different ends of the spectrum. You have, well, I got a really good basketball question for you all in a minute, and we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about a little bit of hoops on here. Just got
Oh,
did
absolutely.
win
Absolutely.
gold, so I feel like we get a pass for that. But um, the individual performances. Like you got these people like diving or sprinting or whatever it might be. You train your whole life for this, and it's something you love and
Mhm.
you pour into, and you get one rep. And if you mess that one rep up, like it's over. Like you might never get back. Like the next one at minimum is going to be in 4 years, right? But like basketball is such a beautiful sport because you mess something up, you got an opportunity to go down on the other end of the floor and like you can redeem yourself. And it doesn't have to be something spectacular. You can just be in position. But like some of these sports like or competitions like diving, like that's the one I always think of because it's like you just miscalculate one half of a rotation or you're sprinting and you're jumping over a hurdle and it just clips your foot by the length of a shoelace, like the difference that
Mhm.
can be between not medaling and all in gold. It's so cool what these people go, like persevere and go through, and just you really do appreciate it when they win it, like seeing that, like having been part of sport, like the work these people put in. and it comes down to that, like one rep for gold, everything you've ever worked for.
Isn't that crazy? There's no series. I even think the basketball gets super interesting because, in the NBA, in the MLB, like our professional sports, there are series, right? Where ultimately, usually, the best team probably has the better chance to prevail. But in the Olympics, that isn't the case. You think about so many upsets. You got Noah Lyles kind of losing there in the 200, and you got Shikari kind of losing out in the 100, which, by the way, is one of my favorite stories of St. Lucia winning their first medal ever, with Julian Alfred crossing the line before Shikari. And that country just went absolutely nuts. Like, I bet they are still, like, St. Lucia is, everybody is still asleep from the party, or they're still partying. Like, they are partying for this woman. She is going to get a statue. She's going to get a key to the country. Like, she will literally, whatever this woman wants in that country is now available to her if it wasn't already before. Like, this woman is it. And I love that. I love, the Botswana sprinter on the boys side, on the men's side. It's like, I love it when these smaller countries, break through and win like their first medals ever. We talked about India, one of our good friends, Brady, of course, or I think it was Matt, maybe mentioned India never winning a medal, and having billions of people.
Billions.
Yeah, billions, and
Yeah.
not winning a medal. I actually think they did end up with the bronze in an event. I forgot what it was.
It amazes me. I had two sister-in-laws that went to the Olympics. You guys know Vanna and Cassidy got to go, and Cassidy lives in Sweden, and so she keeps sending me all of these things. Sweden is like advertising, and they're so excited that they won 11 total medals. Like it's a party over there. Like, and
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Part of us is spoiled by the fact that, the American athlete. But the one storyline that I love about America that rings true every single Olympics. I fell in love with the Olympics in '96. I was like with my family in Michigan, and I was at an older aunt's house, and it was the most boring place on the planet. But the Olympics were on that week, and I spent the whole week watching the '96 Olympics, which, if you don't know, historically speaking, for America, was one of the greatest Olympics ever. You had the very traumatic, like dramatic ending to the U.S. gymnastics team, like people hurt and having to go, finish the routine. And it's like the greatest runners ever, like Michael Johnson. And so you had all the '96, and then from that point on, just freaking fan for life. But the storylines and just I totally lost my train of thought on that. But the storylines and the fact that we are just so spoiled at the fact, United States is supposed to win all the medals every single year. I'm really upset that China tied us.
yeah, especially with the high medal count that we had altogether. And another thing that some of the things you're saying just keeps bringing this to my mind. Like you mentioned earlier, Tokyo and COVID, the terrible timing. And now we're literally as big of a show as that was with COVID in Tokyo. We are now in the 2024 Olympics where if you test positive, you have the option. Yeah, I would still like to compete or no. Like, think about that.
I want to know both of your. I have opinions about Lyles. Um, but what's crazy is I'm still not sure what they are. Um, what? How do you feel about Lyles?
Well, obviously, and I think speaking on the three of us, I'm excited to hear kids' standpoint
I am
being
too.
basketball minds, obviously, and some of the things, he said about the NBA and those guys and world champions. Uh, uh, Kind of sat wrong a little bit with us, I feel like.
Mhm.
But man, I don't know. Like, so supposedly he tests positive before his race, right? And he elects to still run. Uh, I don't know. I don't know that I have an opinion either, Winston. Kid, what do you think about Lyles and the whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, I'm in the same boat. Like I'm still trying to decide how I feel. A lot of mixed emotions going on. Like he trashed basketball a little bit. He did. And I think a lot of people took offense to that. But at the same time, it's the dude is out there, whether, there was a little dramatization or whatever it might have been after the race. Like he put that USA jersey on and he went out there and I want to believe that he gave it his all, right? And I do believe in a sense that he has a point, as I was referring to earlier. Like you get one rep at it. Like it's you versus everybody. And
Mhm.
once that gun fires, like you're bolting it and you're going for gold. Like you got no excuses. Like you don't got another rep. There's not another lap. It's like you get through that finish line for everybody else or you don't. And he went out there and he tried to do it. And I know he had a little success at the Olympics. It's not like it was a no show for him. Like I don't know.
He did. He did.
I
Yeah,
can
he
imagine
did.
that
He
Olympic
won a
village.
gold medal.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, he won a gold and he still won bronze. I don't know. I feel like, is this fair to say that I feel like, you know, I don't know. His personality reminds me so much of Kanye West.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
see it. Yeah, I see it.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not a psychologist. I'm not pointing a finger at him. I'm not. It's just, but like, just my opinion. Like their personalities really remind me of each other. Like I think sometimes he comes off as very brash and very, just very brash and kind of reckless with some of the things that he may say in that. Um, and then some of it, like he backs that up, right? Like you go out there and you prove yourself to be the fastest man on the planet, you back it up a little bit.
Well, then you talked
But
about the role of social media, and I feel like Kanye does this to an extent. Is some of that him trying to get more spotlight on him?
yeah, I think, yeah. So I think Lyles has that same sort of, like I want the spotlight, but then I push it away. Like I want the spotlight, but then I push it away. And then you got to perform, So I think, I don't know, I just see a lot of similarities in their personality. I hope that's fair to say. I don't know. I don't think Kanye or Lyles will ever listen to this, so I think I'm straight.
We do
But
have a
yeah,
listener from Belgium, and I think it might be Fred Deverly, but I'm not sure. But so, I mean, don't count it out just yet.
no.
I think I think he's a very interesting. I think he's very interesting. And I'm like kid. I appreciate the fact he put on the USA jersey and went and done it. I'm gonna shout out. Is it fair for me to shout out some storylines that I don't want to miss?
Shout it out.
This is for how much time we have. I think obviously we have to mention Simone Biles
Absolutely.
as question. I'm gonna come back to this, but is she the greatest athlete ever?
If she's not, she has to be in the top three. I mean, she's up there. Just what she's been able to do over the course of her career in the Olympics alone is unbelievable.
Kia,
And
do you think
gymnastics.
she's the greatest athlete ever?
And gymnastics. Like I don't know if you can dispute that. Like that might be the greatest display of athleticism. You've got these people that go out and I mean it's just pure raw athleticism.
But yeah, the thing about it is you can see it, right? It's like I hate the Jordan LeBron debate all the time based on statistics because I think part of that conversation when you want to call yourself the greatest of all time is like it has to be seen. And so I'm like looking at Simone Biles and what she does, and it's like nobody else has done that. But I think Simone Biles, and she came from foster care. Her mom decided she couldn't take care of her at a very young age, kind of put her up in foster care. Her paternal grandparent like ends up adopting her like 2 or 3 years later, grows up in Texas, trying to make it work and ends up blossoming into possibly the greatest athlete of all time. I think we all probably three agree she's probably the greatest gymnast of all time. And she's not done. I mean, for sure. Nobody comes back from gymnastics at 27, and they surely don't come back at 31. But she said, never say never.
Yeah.
I don't know, does she come back? I think amazing storyline. She can go on and win one more gold and be the most decorated gymnast of all time. And then
Talk,
I think
talking about gymnastics and individual events like kids talked about. What about the pommel horse guy?
Steve, yeah, the
Steve.
nerd,
Oh my gosh.
Nedorochik,
Yeah.
he that storyline, unbelievable, off the
Crazy.
charts, man. A Penn State grad, a little bit older, majored in engineering, just a super nerd. And he specialized, he said, at an early age in gymnastics. He was cool with everything, but he wanted to do the pommel horse. And so he devoted his entire gymnastics career. Like, think about that. Like, if you're Simone or you're some of these other male gymnastics, you're doing everything else. This guy said, I do the pommel horse, that's it. And so just this beautiful, it's almost like an Avengers storyline where they're like, we're recruiting this guy because he's good at this one thing and he's going to do it and he's going to win us a medal. And he goes out and does it. And he's like in this weird meditative state the whole time.
The
And
whole
they're
time.
like, hey, your turn. And he's like,
In the
oh, okay.
zone.
And he goes out there and does it. Like, are you kidding me? This nerdy
Which
guy with the glasses who's not even built like a gymnast?
which is why I get on my soapbox about both of you have heard my soapbox pitch here about 3-on-3 basketball. I love it. As a coach, I practice 3-on-3. I taught 3-on-3. 3-on-3 is amazing. Just, the playing basketball.
Cool.
But you've got guys like Steve, you've got guys like Simone that have dedicated their entire life, one event, one go, and they get that gold medal. Is that the same as these people who get the same gold medal for playing 3-on-3 basketball?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I don't know, but it takes my mind in two different directions, right? Like you see that and you're like, all right, what if I could see this dude and all these guys competing in these individual events, but PEDs were permissible. All right. And then I saw another argument that really got me thinking. All right. And I think we talked about this in our little group chat. Is like, all
Yeah.
right, if there was an Olympics, but every country had a random draft. It didn't matter your age, your ability, nothing, but they did a random draft and you had like a month to prepare for whatever event you were assigned to. All right. What do you think will be more fun to watch? All right. So some of these greatest athletes on the face of the planet, and they're allowed to take these performance enhancing drugs, like whatever it might be, or just these random, like a guy that lives two doors down from you is like, has a month to prep and he's going to compete for the country on the pommel horse, right? Like, what would you rather see there? What gets more clicks?
Since the
Um,
Russians are banned, and if it was just, I would want to watch the random draw just to see which country kicks ass at the Olympics from just the average Joe. Like you don't know what event you're going to get. I think that's a great idea.
yeah, man. I'm thinking about my mom, Kathy Lee, getting signed up for the rings and just like what kind of like how far could we get? Like, could she grab the rings and pull herself up? Maybe I don't know. I don't.
And then every once in a while, it's just going to align for some random individual where they're going to get assigned a sport. Like they're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I've been playing this my whole life. Like this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this
yeah,
is
and they're
what this
good.
is like a dream come true." But if that was you, what would that be? What would your one sport be? If it was like, let's say it doesn't matter, individual, team event, or whatever. Like, what would be the one sport
Um,
if you had the power to like win gold in one event? What would it be?
okay, I'm gonna throw you for a loop here because this is not actually an Olympic event. But in my personal opinion, I think it could this summer into my frisbee game. I'm
Frisbee.
saying not even disc golf. I think we have a can jam Olympic event, and I am the master, right? Like I'm throwing it in the slot like 9 times out of 10, like a magician.
In Jam's
So,
elite.
so if you're asking me what Olympic sport I would love, I'm gonna go reach even further, and I'm gonna make up one. It's gonna be can jam.
I have to vouch. Winston has this. I was just talking to Ken today. I was watching a Chad Smith video on the drums, and like some people just have this natural ability to do things, right? And I think that's one of Winston's is can jam. Like this dude, the first time we ever heard of the game, he was out there throwing it in the slot.
I love it. I love Can Jam, even though um, I'm a little bit hurt in my soul. Like Casey Huff said, he thought I could do anything, but when he saw me hit a golf ball, he realized he was wrong. Uh, so Can Jam's where I'm going. How about Scotty Scheffler, man? How about Scotty Scheffler getting up there and coming back on the last day and winning gold after all he's been through with the LPD, like after everything he has been through, and getting up there and crying his eyes out when the anthem played. And on that storyline, my dad loves Brittany Griner now, like two people I never thought would be together, Brittany Griner and Arlie Lee. Like he loves Brittany Griner because she is losing it up on the stage, as up on the podium as they are playing the America is, man. Like we are totally, and think about those two different people. Are Scotty Scheffler and Brittany Griner, right? Is like the the greatest part about being American is because it is still to this day in its existence just this wild melting pot of people from different places, with different backgrounds, and we all like wear this pride on our chest. And I love just watching these athletes get up on the podium, and I don't love to see them cry, but I love that they carry that emotion on their sleeve for their country, man. And that's all athletes, but of course, especially the ones from the United States.
Well, and it goes back to I read an article today, Colin Kaepernick wanting to try to play flag football in the Olympics 2028. I don't know if you saw that, but and it goes back to KD's interview. We have a lot of things that happen in our country. We really do. But at the same time, there is way more great things. There are so many amazing things. And you see that with guys like Scotty Scheffler. Look what he's been through. The dude got arrested for what we found out was a completely made up
Nothing.
police report. And he gets treated the way he does, but then he goes out and performs for his country and cries his eyes out during the anthem. Man, that's America, man.
I love it. I love it. I love the fact, and my dad was a little upset that the United States men's basketball team didn't cry. But let me tell you the emotion that those boys felt when it was over and
Oh,
Steph went off. They felt relief
yes.
Yes.
because from day one, their goal and the pressure on their shoulders was to not lose, not just win gold. The pressure for them was not to lose. And I'm sorry, but I think the emotion that they felt when that game was over and the final horn sounded, I think they felt relief. Don't get me wrong, they were happy. They're going to take that gold. Everybody's happy. We're emotional. I don't know if we cry about it because we're just relieved that we made it through here. Which is the next best storyline to me. All right, there's a ton of great storylines, but I'm sick of these comparisons from '92. Get over yourself.
Yeah.
Get over yourself. You
But
are a
that's why
boomer.
they felt
Stop
that sense of
comparing.
relief.
What?
But that's why they felt that sense of relief because the narrative is there. It exists.
It exists. And why? I don't know. Because it's fun for people. It's fun for people to play up on the miserable ideology in comparison to the '92 team. And I won't argue that the '92 team, you take a healthy '92 team in some fantastical world that everybody wants to live in, and you put them against a healthy 2024 team. I don't know what happens. Maybe '92 wins. I don't care though, because in '92 I watched these highlights. These teams were straight garbage, trash. They were terrible. You take these teams, like you could literally take our GAC group text and go out there and play for a gold medal in '92. Like they were terrible. And I don't care what anybody says.
Well,
We had to go through arguably the greatest player in the world and Joker. We had to go through Wemby, who is the greatest NBA prospect since LeBron. We had to go through the other side, the people we didn't even see, like Giannis, who's arguably a top 3, top 5 player in the world. Luca, who didn't even make the Olympics, right? Didn't even make it. Arguably the greatest player in the world, didn't even make it.
Well,
So it's like, I'm not hearing it. The Germany team was good. The Canadian team was absolutely loaded, more than 10 NBA players on it. The hottest team in the world was South Sudan, who shot lights out for the entire Olympics and playing for like their life. So it's like, I'm not hearing it. I could go in on people in the comparisons with the 92 team, but I ain't hearing it. I'm glad these boys won.
well, that brings me to one of the final questions I wanted to ask you guys. We're seeing the rise of basketball in these other countries. You just talked about that. I'm with you. I'm tired of that narrative because those teams in the Olympics from the other countries were not like the other teams. Now, I had a bartender at the bar the other day. Literally, we were at the game. Kid, you were with me at this day. We were watching the game. They win, and he goes, "Man, thank God they won." He was like, "We're paying them all that money. They better win, right?" And I wanted to be like, "Who do you think are on the other teams? They're NBA players too. We're paying them
Well,
millions too." Like, what? I mean, I don't understand that argument.
yeah, that's true too. Like the other guys are getting paid. Joker gets paid just about the same amount.
Yeah.
So here's the thing to that too, though, is that you're looking at the numbers. Have you seen these numbers that these countries pay these Olympic athletes when they win gold? And turns out in America, now obviously we have this large pool of people that win gold that you got to pay. But even at that rate, economically speaking, USA's, supposed to be near the top always. So can't say that much right now, I don't guess, but whatever. We don't pay our athletes a whole lot. You get $31,000 to win an Olympic gold medal. If you win an Olympic gold medal for one of these other smaller countries, they pay you like $750,000.
You make that
So
much
it's
to win
like,
the TBT.
yeah, you get paid more to win the TBT. If they really wanted to make
So,
money, they just stay home and play TBT.
St.
So
Lucia, you get one of the islands. I don't know if that's fact. Don't fact check that. But it's
Julian Alfred she is basically the queen of St. Lucia now.
yeah.
So she's
You
probably
get
living the
paid
best
in the
life.
States, you get paid in clout. But it goes a
Yeah.
long way. Like I would trade that for like I couldn't tell you how much money I would give to tell you like, hey, I want a gold medal or a silver or a bronze for my country. Like
I
greatest
love
conversation starter of all time. Two truths and a lie. I want a gold medal, something and something. Like, but it's the pressure on this USA team, right? Like, I don't think you can understate that. Like, you've got this sport that was invented in the States that you've dominated for so long, but you look at the NBA first team, and you've got all these sports, right? You've got all these Olympic sports that are global, but you've got some that just carry a little more weight than others. And you've got baseball, which is, I think the USA probably has the greatest pro organizations for anything. Maybe you could argue soccer is better, a little better in Europe, but
sure.
I think we're making a case for that now too in the States. But you look at the first team All NBA and the five, what the experts and the media and everybody else deem as the five best players in the world. Three of those five, so the majority are international players. You got Giannis, Doncic, and Jokic, and that's what we're up against.
Wimby,
I'm gonna
Wimby
parlay
now.
that. Yeah,
Uh,
I'm gonna parlay that into the question I've been dying to ask you two specifically.
Uh-oh.
okay.
All right,
I
if
don't you
Kentucky,
kid, you said you were
I'm having a
nervous.
blast.
You said you
Blues,
were
would you?
nervous to get on here, but I'm nervous now. I don't think I've ever been asked a
listen,
question on here.
you're gonna enjoy this one. If Kentucky was its own University of Kentucky was its own country, and we're gonna for the fun of it, we're gonna exclude international players. If we had today if we fielded an Olympic team of former University of Kentucky men's basketball players, would we medal? Would we win gold? Would we even qualify for the Olympics?
Well, I'll start that off because I know Winston's got a lot more elaboration in this. He's thought about this a lot more than I know him. I know his mindset. I think that's hard to answer. Do I think we have a chance? I think so. I mean, you look at three of those guys on the Olympic team were from Kentucky. You look at some of the other guys in the past that we've had in the NBA from Kentucky. I think you have a chance, but it's like Winston said, it's not a series in the Olympics. So, do we medal? Oh man, you're going up against France. You're going up against Germany. That's tough. I don't know. I think we could. I think there's a possibility.
I think we bronze, and we bronze in a really close game with, and I'm throwing, and I'm like, we put in the international players, and I'm thinking right off, you get Book Bam and AD, you get Book Bam AD, and then if in theoretically speaking you get SGA, but even if you don't, right? But then you get Randall, you get some physicality, but you get Maxi, who's of course one of the blossoming stars of the NBA, who I think all three of us kind of predict might be on this USA team of 2028, which I think is right now for me like what my mind wants to fixate on. I saw it again today. Who will be on the? I think it's so fun to think about who will be on this 2028 team, and
Yes.
will they win? And my first thought in that is like, I don't think they will, but we're playing in LA. And I just witnessed what France did in France. France had the most medals it's ever won as a country. It has as most golds it's ever won, most medals total it's ever won. The swimmer, Marchand, who we should mention, put on an absolute show.
He's like
These
the
people
face of the
in
Olympics.
Paris were freaking out. Marchand is the equivalent of Michael Phelps in America, who, by the way, I revisited today. Michael Phelps is the greatest athlete of all time. He has 28 medals. 28. 28. We're sitting here talking about Biles being the greatest ever, and she's got like 11.
But that's not
Nobody
fair.
touches Michael Phelps, bro. And nobody touches him. Ledecky, who we should also mention, she's been great in the pool. If she gets one more gold, and they asked her if she would come back, and she said maybe. She would be, I think she would also be 30. She would be in her 30s. She would be pretty old. But the thing about Ledecky is she swims the 1500. Could you imagine swimming a mile in the pool? And she's strong. And I'm not so sure she can't come back in 4 years and win the 1500
Well,
because she's just not touched.
She beats everybody so bad that I mean she can lose several seconds and still win the thing.
Dude, she has the top 20 times all time belong to her. She swam her 8th best time this year. She has the top 20 times herself. So it's like, I think Ledecky might come back and win another gold and become the greatest swimmer ever on the female side. I think Biles really might come back, win another gold, and become the most decorated gymnast internationally of all time. But at any rate, it's fun for me to think about the 2028 team and what they may be able to do in LA or may not be able to do in LA. But in piecing this team together, I'm saying the UK team, the UK squad wins bronze. I think we lack the physicality. Y'all watch these FIBA games. They absolutely punch each other. They kill each other. Sometimes there's a foul called. Sometimes they're not. You're playing it live off the rim. And plus, I just don't know if we have consistent enough shooting aside from like Book to be able to really. But when I say consistent shooting, I don't want this to be twisted. When I think of consistent shooting, I mean, you think about Steph, like he got hot. Mm-hmm. He started out like 0 for 4. Like he got hot. These European teams put it in the hole. Like if they are open or slightly contested, this goes in. So I think the UK team finishes bronze just off sole athleticism and the fact of being able to play with pace. I think our woes in shooting and physicality end up costing us the gold medal game.
Kid, do they
That's
medal?
where I'm at. Huh?
Kid, do they medal?
I think they unquestionably medal. I'm going to go through this list, and this was posted by our dear friend Brady Kennedy.
Oh, boy.
to go back, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. I mean, I'm a longtime fan of Before the Whistle, so like the fact that I'm on this podcast with you too, like I'm witnessing greatness right now. Like I get to see this before. I'm just at some point I'm like, oh crap, I got to speak up and say something, but I'm just sitting
I
back.
talk too much. I talk too much.
No, it's beautiful. Like
I
I'm
think it's
witnessing
beautiful.
greatness. Like, and I was so excited. Like I get this sneak peek at this podcast before anybody else in the country gets to listen in. So I'm really excited for it. But I'm not even. I want to be offended that we're the seventh on your list, Wes. But like I can't be offended because the people you brought on before us, like Brady Kennedy, Andrew Ortelli, Preston Spradlin, John Hood, like I got nothing to like. I can't compete with that. But our dear friend Brady Kennedy, like what he posted, he was kind enough to like write out this roster, and I think it's incredible. You got De'Aaron Fox, you got Tyrese Maxey, Devin Booker. In the post, you got AD and Bam, who were on the Olympic team. You got Tyler Hero coming off the bench to make shots. You got Emmanuel Quickly and Keldon Johnson, who I think it was about a season ago, led the league in spot up threes, percentage wise. You got Julius Randle. Like I think you got a good mix of physicality in there. And that's what's
Mhm.
so cool about FIBA is it in a sense it reminds me of like 90s NBA when I first started tuning
Mhm.
in. Like just this physicality because the NBA you watch it now and the emphasis is on freedom of movement because that's what sells tickets. Like offense sells tickets. People want to see the ball go in the hole. Like that's the fun part about basketball, and that's what's so frustrating about sports like soccer to me. It's like watching
Right.
a guy drive. It's like watching like fourth grade basketball. You drive it down, and they turn it over at the free throw line, and then they go the other way, and then they turn it over at the free throw line, and then they go the other way, and somebody gets a shot up, and everybody goes like, and then they miss it by a mile. It's an air ball, and that's soccer to me. But like basketball, just the way they're able to control the ball and whatnot, move it around. But like FIBA is so beautiful in a sense because like you say physical and you look at these dudes and they don't look like Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley and those guys, but the way they play is so physical. Like they can bump you off your cuts. You try to drive to the basket and they're allowed to, they're allowed to hand check you and kind of move you off your path and they're not going to call that a foul. And seeing these guys fight through it is and adjust to that game is such a beautiful thing. And like you end up seeing like Steph's performance and whatnot. But to get back to my point, like I think the Kentucky guys, I think they got a good chance to play for gold. I think that's an incredibly talented squad, and they got a little bit of everything. But I'm gonna end with my whole point with this. Like all that being said, I really, really, really hope as a basketball guy for this next summer Olympics, like how cool would it be for LeBron and Steph to come back and ride off into the sunset off winning a gold in LA, in the States. And you talk about like France going nuts for their dudes in the country. Like there's something, the adrenaline, like being in that arena where everybody's chanting your name, you're playing for the name on the front of your jersey. Like you got the states on your back and you got a chance like LeBron being what's he going to be like 57 years
43.
old,
He'll be
crazy.
43.
He's going to be 43 years old, which is just unbelievable. And Steph's not far behind him. And you
He'll
got
be
to
40.
come back. I don't know if they'll play or not. Like there's a lot of debate over that right now. But like what an unbelievable, you can't even write that in freaking Hollywood. A way to end your career. Hey, I'm gonna ride off into the sunset. I'm gonna play this last season, and in the summer, I'm gonna play for the States. And we're gonna win gold in the States. And I'm gonna call it. I hope
Well,
that
I feel like it's tough for a lot of young guys. I think you're going to see a lot of these older legends have that as their final accolade to win that gold medal before they hang up the shoes. I understand as a young guy, you're competing for your country and it's amazing, but you're also risking the livelihood of the rest of your career financially and stability there. So I mean, I get that side too. Uh, Before we end, kid, I just have to say I have one flaw in your roster there for the Kentucky Olympic team. I
Uh-oh.
have no idea how you're going to keep Tyler here. Tyler Hero cannot survive the Olympic Village, first of all. Yeah. So that's not going to happen.
The guys, what they played through, I know a lot of people played through some injuries and whatnot, but like I imagine some of those guys played through some all-nighters, staying up and we'll say studying their craft. And amongst other things, like I'm sure they had some pain, and it's just you put that into the equation as well, and it's just really
If
impressive.
if Hero can survive Miami, Blue, he if he can survive Miami, bro, he can survive. If he can survive Lexington, he can survive. Like
The
he might thrive in LA 28.
the more I'm
um
thinking about it, the longer this conversation goes, I don't think Lyles had COVID.
I don't know what you're
he
alluding.
didn't have COVID. Maybe Lyles didn't have COVID. I mean, it was very traumatic. They like had to peel his jersey off of him and everything. Um, I love the fact you brought up the old retired guys because of course I think one of the coolest things that happened in this Olympics that kind of went unnoticed because there were so many other cool things. We had their tennis joker, on the tennis side, finally won Olympic gold against like Alcaraz is like the up and coming. He's going to be like I honestly think he's going to be the greatest tennis player ever all time, like Federer, Djokovic, like whoever. I think Alcaraz has a chance to be that. And it's kind of like they go to this dramatic 3 hour long tennis match for gold, and the old guy guts it out as like his final like trophy on the shelf, like his final greatest feat. He had won all these Grand Slams. He had won everything in the game of tennis except for a gold medal. And he beats the young, up and coming Alcaraz, like who's kind of like just like the kid that's going to be probably the greatest, if not the greatest right now, in my opinion. And it's like for it to happen that way, you kind of kid talking about LeBron and Steph possibly coming back. I would love if like they came back and it's almost like a passing of the torch and like they go out with gold. And then you got guys like Ant and Ja, who we kind of pinned on this team, who are like just coming to the forefront and taking over the game. I love it. I love that thought process, and I love that that happened this Olympics for our old boy Joker on the tennis side of things. So, I don't know. That was a really cool storyline that I felt like a lot of people kind of overlooked it a little bit. But I thought that one was super cool.
Father Time is
No,
undefeated, and when these guys find a way, you go out with grace. You really appreciate it as a sports fan.
well, we are
What
nearing
about? I
our.
mean, there was a 53-year-old ping pong player, right? For I think Korea. I think she played for the Republic of Korea. It's like which I think is a beautiful thing too. That North and South Korea kind of compete together.
Yes.
But I think she was like 53 years old, like, and finally made it. And she had originally made the team for a different country and changed her citizenship. I always find that super interesting too. Um, a lot of people don't know it, but like Simone Biles actually has dual citizenship because of her grandparents. But it's like I think it's so our hammer thrower on the lady side of the thing in track and field, and whoever our track and field coach is on the lady side, like they need a raise. Like it's crazy what America did on the track. You could go for days. Of course, McLaughlin like breaking her own world record, and I think to that end is the greatest Kentucky athlete ever. I mean, I don't know how you could argue against it at this point. I mean, she dominates anything anytime her feet hit the track, and she's only she's going to do this, she can possibly do this a couple more times. She's young. And so I just but those storylines, our hammer thrower originally was from some another country, moved to the United States, changed her citizenship, she wins medal in the hammer throw. So it's like that's what America is. That's what it is. The gates open, people come, they're happy, they want to be here, and they wear it on their chest with pride. And we love it, and we love it. So I love the Olympics. I'm so glad you had this episode, and thank you so much for having us on. I know we probably took it places we shouldn't have, but I think it's been an amazing episode. I know I'm going to go back to the drawing board later, and I'm going to regret not mentioning some of these stories, but I think it was just all so beautiful, man. The 28, And what better way to kick off 28 than with Red Hot Chili Peppers and Billie Eilish and then Snoop Dogg and Dre waving the Olympic flag beachside in LA to kick things off. I don't know of anything else we could have. I mean, what about Snoop?
The only thing that could have
face
made
of
it better,
America, man.
the only thing that could have made it better, and the one thing I'll be pulling for is for this draft to become a reality and for Kathy Lee to go up there and win us a gold in some doubles table tennis. That's what I got my sights on for the next 4 years.
If Cat Lee
Did you
gets
see-
drawn to do the rings, I don't care if it's in North Korea and Pyongyang. I'm going to the Olympics.
North Korea. I think it would be cool. Did you see it? Did y'all see the cap guy for the poolside there in Paris? Like, there's one guy has the job of retrieving the swim caps if a swimmer loses a swim cap in the pool.
That's
Have
amazing.
you seen this guy? Yeah,
No.
so he just walking around the pool with the Speedo on, like he had a super dad bod, like bright yellow Speedo on, and a swimmer loses their cap in the pool and he jumps in and gets it. Like, he's just chilling. Like,
How do we apply for that?
oh no. Oh no.
Does this
I
look-
don't know. It's beautiful. Oh, I gotta mention Kristen Faulkner. I gotta mention the cycling. You know, that was the greatest part about this Olympics too. The United States won medals in sports that we had never won medals in before, like canoeing and the hammer throw. The long runs, a 10,000 meter. You know, the long runs. We traditionally never, like Grant Fisher, like we never medal in those events. We medaled, like gutted them out. I think Tori Husk is up and coming, like one of the greatest swimmers ever. What I loved about her is like most of these Olympic athletes don't look tired when they're done. This girl, when she came out the pool, she won 5 gold medals. This girl, she got a chance to be very, very good. But when she got out the pool every time, this girl looked wore out. She was like, I just did everything I could do, guys. And I love that. I mean, I think she just put it out there, but I loved her story. I think she's going to be it. She could possibly be like the next Ledecky, but she's, of course, nobody's going to do the long haul mile swim like Ledecky, but Bobby Fink did on the boys' side. Super great swimmer. But I just like the stories behind the medals of that America had never won before. Were super cool. So I got to mention cycling and Kristen Faulkner, and we won one. It's like 2 days before the road race. And they're like, hey, we got somebody out. Do you think you want to do this? And she's like, well, I was supposed to do the track cycling, but I guess I'll try the road. Goes out and wins it. And she's like she's not a Harvard grad. Gabby Thomas is a Harvard grad, but this girl's like super smart, had graduated, like super smart. Goes out, wins the road race, and then comes back like 2 days later and wins on the track in the Velodrome. So it's like that's crazy. You shouldn't be able to do that. These athletes are just wild.
How many
So,
miles
yes,
have you
I
put on
want
your
the
bike
I
since
want the
then?
random draw.
How many
I want
miles
the
have you
random-
put on your How many miles have you put on your bike since you watched that?
Okay, so I won't lie to you. Here's what's happened. You all don't even know this. I talk to y'all every day.
I'm nervous.
The Olympics has inspired me. Are you ready? I'm currently training for what is called a sprint triathlon.
Wow. What does a sprint
not a-
triathlon include?
It's pretty much a wussy man's triathlon. So we're going to run 3 miles, we're going to bike 12, and we're going to swim 300 yards. So it's like I'm don't have to do a whole lot. But it's been fun I've been getting some reps in the pool, been pretending that I'm Bobby Fink, and it's fun.
If I were going to do a triathlon, I would want to be an evergreen tree. So I think I mean, I've got faith in you. I've got faith in you.
The problem is when the problem is right? Is like I can't do some of these things. One of my favorite highlights from the Olympics is Devin Booker riding away the night after winning that gold medal on a bicycle, just off in the distance.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
just stopping traffic, just jumping on the bike.
Like 6 a.m. the next morning.
He's like sign an autograph. Somebody ushers him onto this bike and shoves him out into the street, and he just goes. He's gone. Like after I win this gold medal in Can Jam, that's what I want. Just point me to the bird scooter, put me on it, and push me away, and I'm gone.
Gone in the distance.
Put
Sign
me
an
on the
autograph.
bird. Somebody scan my code, put me on the bird, and push me on, and let me just ride off. Right, like it's perfect ending for the Olympic team. But yeah, I've been inspired by the Olympics. I just can't give up the things, you know. Ultimately, if you're really going to do this, you're going to train for a triathlon. You need to give up things. Like you need to quit drinking things and eating things, and I haven't done that. So it's why we're not that serious, but it's fun.
Well, after next week, when they view you practicing your gainer with the life jacket on, I got a feeling the Olympic Committee might pull you up from the triathlon and you might have a real shot at 2028 Los Angeles. Don't count us out of that yet. Oh, Austin Kidd, Winston Lee, thank you so much. I've got a strong feeling this is not the last time that you guys are going to be on this show. Hopefully not. I've got my fingers crossed you'll be back many times. So, but we have Kidd said it best earlier. Father Time is undefeated and Father Time has arrived. But thank you so much. Nobody else I would rather talk Olympics with. So and see your beautiful office in the background. Thank you guys. Thanks to MCHC for sponsoring. Any goodbyes, fellas?
Man, thank you for having me. It's been a blast. This is probably record timing for episode length. Edit as much as you want. I love you. Thank you guys. I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon.
I'm honored to be here. I witnessed greatness tonight. Anytime that Blue Jean Smith and Winston Lee get together, it's something that anybody in the world would want to tune into. But everybody always talks about, like, man, if we had a podcast, this would be a great conversation. And now we've got a friend with a podcast. So we look forward to all the future conversations we're going to have with you, Wes. We hope people tune in. We hope they appreciate the show. You do a great job with it, man. We love you. We support you. We're really excited for this thing.
We have a golf trip on Sunday together. Unfortunately, we probably that's the podcast I would really like to record and put out there, but we probably won't be allowed to because you would have to have some kind of age restriction on that podcast. But look forward to that anyway. Thank you guys. Austin Kidd, Winston Lee, you know the drill. Until next week when we see Winston Lee practice the game.